Welcome. Hi, it's Nick from Global Distribution. Thanks very much for joining us. Good afternoon to the guys in Europe and good morning to our guys attending in the US. Thanks very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for this webinar. We aim to keep it brief but informative, so we'll hopefully be keeping you for no more than sort of say 30 minutes, and we aim to have some sort of Q&A at the end of this. So the topic for today is My Bridge is Smarter Than Yours, a rather tongue-in-cheek topic for a webinar. But I hope during this presentation you're going to find out what makes the ATTO XstreamCORE such a compelling product. The key purpose of the XstreamCORE is to disaggregate storage from computer resources. But what does that really mean? Well, in a nutshell, it means using XstreamCORE to connect virtually any devices, JBODs, JBOFs, RAID arrays, tape devices, etc., to a fiber channel or Ethernet technology. And then we're going to talk about the advantages that this will bring. In a moment, I'm going to introduce Ryan from ATTO, who's going to take us through the presentation and be answering some Q&A at the end. But this is the first in a series of webinars, starting with, as I said, My Bridge is Smarter Than Yours today. But do please join us 2nd of September for a more technical overview of the XstreamCORE with Matt Mercurio, who's one of the senior customer service engineers at ATTO, and that'll give you a bit more of a nuts and bolts demo, if you will. And then lastly, on the 16th of September, we're putting the whole band together. And we're showing you how you can build a software-defined storage solution that eliminates hardware and vendor lock-in and provides IT departments with a high degree of flexibility, reliability, and efficiency. And joining us along with ATTO on that day will be DataCore with their SANsymphony product, and WDC talking about their UltraStar Data 60s and Data 102 products. But as I said, my name is Nick Warburton. I'm Director at Global Distribution, and also joining us is Ryan O'Donnell, his Product Marketing Manager at ATTO Technology for the Bridge for the XstreamCORE product. Before I hand over to Ryan, as I said, we are going to be doing some Q&A at the bottom. So underneath the presenter screen, you should see a text box. And in there, we'd love you to send in your questions during this presentation, and we'll do our very best to answer them at the end. But without further ado, and without me boring you too much further, I'm going to hand over to the real brains of the operation, Ryan, who's going to talk you through the XstreamCORE product. Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you on the line.
Thank you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I really appreciate you setting up this webinar and allowing us to talk to your customers about the ATTO XstreamCORE. It's a really exciting product. I'm just going to start off by giving everyone a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today. So I'm going to start with an overview of what the XstreamCORE is. I'm going to talk about some of the success stories, how we've seen customers integrate the XstreamCORE into their environment and what it does for them. And then before we close, I'm going to talk about some use case opportunities. That's instances where the XstreamCORE could be used in order to help bolster your environment that perhaps hasn't necessarily been implemented yet. So starting off with, what is the XstreamCORE Intelligent Bridge? So this is a product that allows your IT administrators to architect different storage solutions. Depending on what type of storage you have, you may architect your environment differently, but the XstreamCORE works with all sorts of different types of storage, as Nick mentioned. It's also optimized to take advantage of flash capabilities. So if you're running a flash environment, the XstreamCORE works very well with it. And it's engineered with an open design. So it's storage independent. It's got a common set of services as well. Looking at some of the use cases for how XstreamCORE is utilized in an environment. So we have long distance storage connectivity for stretch clusters. That's really popular in the continent. We also can repurpose existing SAS storage. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We work really well in software-defined storage environments. You may have picked up on that as Nick was talking about the upcoming webinar on the 16th of September. We can also help you offload your server resources with data mover technology. And we allow you to share your SSDs to multiple servers, and you can create a mass storage environment using XstreamCORE. And you can also utilize XstreamCORE as an embeddable controller for some of your storage as well. Some of the key selling points of XstreamCORE. So first and foremost, we built XstreamCORE utilizing the intelligent bridging architecture. That's ATTO's methodology for how we go about making these types of products. So we focus on protocol translation. That's SAS to fiber channel, SAS to Ethernet, NVMe to Ethernet, and we do so with minimal added latency. We also feature real-time performance analytics. So being able to analyze your storage as you go, collecting those metrics via hardware so that we don't introduce additional performance penalties, additional latency into the equation. We designed the product with hardware accelerated iSCSI as opposed to software accelerated. Again, this is to allow your data to move as quickly as possible. And lastly, we also have host group mapping as part of our product as well. So what that allows you to do is assign your storage to different servers. You can assign drives, you can assign different partitions of your storage, allows you to use your storage differently. How we accelerate these data transfers. The XstreamCORE has two base cores inside of it. We have the XCore, which is the data acceleration engine, and we have the ECore, which is the control engine. So the XCore handles all of your data reads and writes, and it processes them as fast as possible. We are able to achieve sub 2 microseconds latency, which is almost non-distinguishable from no latency whatsoever. Additionally, the ECore handles all of your non-data requests, which is what frees up the XCore to be able to be so fast. Looking at the XCore, as I mentioned, the majority of the operations are processed in the pipeline without any sort of software intervention. This gives us such that a low deterministic latency, and it allows you to get your data from point A to point B without worrying about slowing things down. I'm not going to go into the technical details as much in this presentation. If you'd like more information about the technical details of XstreamCORE, please attend our next presentation on the 2nd of September. Additionally, looking at the ECore, so the ECore virtualizes all of your storage and management services. It adds things like event logs, in-band management. It also adds some storage services such as data mover, zoning, diagnostic, and it also supports third-party IP. Let's take a look at the different versions of the XstreamCORE that we currently have available on the market. So first and foremost, we have the XstreamCORE 7550. The XstreamCORE 7550 is SAS to fiber channel, and it features 4 16 gigabit fiber channel ports. So this is ideal if you're looking to put your SAS storage onto a fiber channel network and you need multiple different ports in order to connect to different servers or different initiators. We also have a variety called the XstreamCORE 7600. The XstreamCORE 7600 is also SAS to fiber channel. However, it features 2 32 gigabit fiber channel ports. So if you're looking for a higher level of fiber channel connectivity, but don't necessarily need as many ports, the 7600 provides you with the same level of throughput, IOPS, and the same protocol technology, however, in a different form factor. And then lastly, we also have the XstreamCORE 8200. The 8200 features Ethernet technology. So this is SAS to 40 gigabit Ethernet. And this is utilized in environments where you're looking to try to put your SAS storage onto an Ethernet network. And I'll be talking about during the use cases why you might want to do that versus utilizing the fiber channel version. Here's a comparison of the different products. You can see, aside from the difference between the number of ports and whether we're converting to fiber channel or Ethernet, the performance of the products is pretty similar across the board in terms of the latency, the throughput, the IOPS. Just going to leave this here for a second, so if you guys would like to study this or jot something down, that you can do that. Let's take a look at some of the success stories. So one of the first success stories I'd like to talk about is how we're able to enable metro and stretch cluster formations. So we had a partner who needed to create a network architecture that could connect their SAS storage over a fiber channel network. And so we helped them develop and design a metro and stretch cluster environment. So why might you want to do this? So this helps you with a business continuity case. So in the event of a disaster, in the event of a power loss, you're able to get your data back into your network instantly You can do real-time replication across sites, and it protects your business-critical applications. You'll notice that when you're building a Metronome Stretch cluster, there's a lot of overlap between software-defined storage, and our bridge actually helps with both of those. Looking at how this might be designed, you can see in this diagram, Site A and Site B look virtually identical to one another. The dotted line down the center represents an undetermined amount of distance. So when you're utilizing fiber channel, you can go many kilometers, hundreds of kilometers. So this could be something where you had it in 2 different metropolitan areas. You could have it in 2 different sides of the same metropolitan area. You could have Site A in some sort of downtown area and Site B in some sort of rural backup location. And really what this does is it allows you to connect your SAS storage, in this case, we're utilizing JBODs, into a fiber channel network in a much more cost-effective way, as opposed to buying some sort of native fiber channel storage, which has a much higher acquisition cost. Next, I want to talk about how we're utilizing the XstreamCORE in order to help enable SAS tape libraries to get onto networks. So we encountered a problem where users of SAS libraries wanted to be able to access their backups over their network. However, SAS storage is limited to a direct attached architecture, limited to a short distance, relatively, talking about 10 meters in terms of how far you can really take that SAS. So what we developed here was a solution where our bridge, the Ethernet version of the bridge, allows you to take that SAS storage, convert it to Ethernet, and then connect it into a storage network. So you can then aggregate your storage into a single location, as opposed to having multiple different SAS tape libraries in different parts of your environments. Or you could take your storage and you could share it over multiple different servers. It allows you to manage your storage much more efficiently, as opposed to having to manage each tape library separately. And you can scale out much larger. Your backup windows can be a lot shorter because you're going over a dedicated storage network as opposed to over your local area network. And you can restore your data a lot faster as well. You can see here in the top left corner what a typical SAS library connected into a network might look like. And then down and to the right from that is what it looks like when you connect an XstreamCORE into it. So your SAS library in a typical environment is going into one server. That server then plugs into your local area network. Utilizing XstreamCORE, we can connect up to 16 libraries into the XstreamCORE and then send those out into an Ethernet fabric to connect your SAS storage to other Ethernet storage, to other SAS storage on the other side of XstreamCORE devices, so that you can get your storage all interconnected, do your backups and your recoveries a lot quicker. Next, I'd like to talk about our software-defined storage solution. So we found that software-defined storage is a growing technology. However, a lot of users are looking for a more resilient architecture. So we're looking to help those users disaggregate their storage. So that would be take the storage and be able to grow it independently from the compute. Be able to add additional storage of different types. But also provide a more resilient network architecture in the process. So utilizing our 7550, you can design your network architecture differently to make more efficient use of storage you already have, add additional storage, but you also can create that resiliency by eliminating some single points of failure. You can create redundant paths to your data. You can make sure that if one piece of your network infrastructure fails, that there's a redundant piece there that will pick up the slack as well. So looking at some of the benefits of this, right? So we talked about the resiliency in the design. It also gives you some greater management capabilities over your storage. I talked about that early on how the XstreamCORE allows that. You also get to deploy your storage and your network in different ways, right? So if you need to have different configurations of storage and servers, if you wanted to have multiple XstreamCOREs, we can help you design a network that utilizes your resources in different ways. provides that greater resiliency. It gives you faster performance and that multipathing, right? So that's why I talked about the multiple different ways to get to your data. The increased monitoring, it's very simple to grow your environment when you build a software-defined storage environment utilizing XstreamCORE. You can add additional storage relatively easy. And then there's a lot of robust potential when it comes to how we continue to grow this. And a lot of that is based upon what your software-defined storage solution is. Different software-defined storage solutions bring different things to the table. I'd like to take an opportunity now to talk about some of the use cases that we've seen as potentials out there. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk about blade servers. So if you're familiar with blade servers, they're very efficient in terms of the utilization of space. It's really easy to expand your blade servers out. However, blade servers typically only have a limited amount of onboard storage available. So as you want to continue to grow your storage for your blade servers, your options are usually just adding additional blades to your environment. However, utilizing XstreamCORE, you can actually connect out to external storage. So if you already have as much compute as you need, but you still need more storage, be that JBOD, JBOF, RAID, you need different types of storage. You can connect through an XstreamCORE utilizing that SAS connection out to your Ethernet network, out to your fiber channel network, and be able to expand your storage without having to add additional blades. And again, when you add Ethernet or fiber channel connectivity, it also allows you to remotely locate that storage. So if server room space is an issue and you want to have a separate room or a separate location where your storage is located, you can do that over a network. So this is what that might look like. You can see a representation of the blades in the center of this diagram, connecting out to the XstreamCOREs, and then on the other side of those XstreamCOREs, you'd plug into your fiber channel or your Ethernet network. This really allows you to make the best use out of your storage, your flash environment as well. So, if this is something that you're interested in, please let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you about it, figure out how this fits in with your customer. I'd also like to talk about how you can repurpose your existing storage. So, in many cases, as companies continue to grow, they might be transitioning from a direct attached environment and looking to add a storage area network. So, if you're going from a single location to expanding to a second, third, fourth location, or if you're just looking to make your network more modernized and you want to add Ethernet or fiber channel, in many cases, you have existing SAS storage that you need to decide what you're going to do with. That storage could either be discarded and replaced with new Ethernet or fiber channel storage, which plugs directly into your network, or you could utilize an XstreamCORE and you could repurpose that SAS storage. So utilizing the XstreamCORE, you can reduce your one-time investment costs of having to buy additional storage, having to discard your existing storage. You can cut out some of the additional work of taking the data from your old storage and migrating it to your new storage. This can be a method not only to help you grow in the short term, but also this could be a sustainable solution moving forward if you find that SAS storage is a better fit for your environment. Also, you can utilize the XstreamCORE to add additional management capabilities. So we've talked a lot about JBODs during the course of this presentation. JBODs are a very economical storage option. They don't necessarily have the highest acquisition cost, but you trade in the fact that they also don't have the most features or the most control, such as a RAID array would. Utilizing XstreamCORE, you can add some additional management to your JBOD storage. Normally, in a JBOD environment, you're presented with a volume of storage which you can save data to as you see fit. Utilizing XstreamCORE, we can do host group mapping. We can assign drives to individual hosts or individual servers. And that allows you to use your storage differently, to carve it up in order to create some redundancy, in order to create some data mirroring if you're using software-defined storage. And what that does is it gives you a better value out of your JBOD storage. So with that, Nick, I think it might be time for us to take some questions from the audience.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ryan. That was really informative. So they've got a couple of questions in, so we'll answer those. If other of you got questions, do just send them in now, and we'll get through them. So the first question is about software-defined storage. You mentioned it a couple of times in the presentation. Whose sort of software are you approved with at the moment, or what are your kind of key vendors that you're working with at the moment for the software-defined storage product?
Yeah, one of our great partners at the moment is DataCore. So, you mentioned early on, Nick, we're doing a webinar in about 4 weeks with DataCore and WDC. So we've been partnering with DataCore for, the better part of a few years now. And we have a great solution utilizing ATTO XstreamCORE and DataCore SANsymphony. So we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. We're also really excited to talk about some of the interesting things we've been able to do with VMware and with vSAN. So we've got some interesting things on our website about that, and you can see some of that in our social media feed, and there'll be a press release coming out soon.
Okay, brilliant. And the vSAN, that's in connection with kind of using the XstreamCORE to kind of allocate resources to virtual machines effectively in a blade environment or what have you.
Yeah, our solution around XstreamCORE is a lot about disaggregating your storage, being able to utilize your storage in different ways, and being able to host group map and assign your drives. So I look forward to talking to customers about that if that's something that they're interested in.
Okay, great. And the other question I had that's come through is just on tape libraries. You mentioned, I think, sort of midway through the presentation about support for tape libraries, but customers just asking, is there any particular manufacturer?
Yeah, right now we've been working primarily with Dell, with HPE, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and with Spectra Logic. We've also started recently working with IBM, and we're in a conversation currently with Quantum as well. So we're really dedicated to making sure that our products are certified and interoperable with all of the top tape manufacturers in the industry. We've done a lot of testing on our side. But we want to make sure that our partners in the industry have certified our product as interoperable as well.
And the real value there, I guess, if you've got a multiple, either if you haven't purchased tape library yet, or you're thinking about doing it, and you've got multiple, you're looking to network it, it would be more cost effective, shall we say, to put an XstreamCORE in there to connect multiple half height sort of SAS drives and put those out over Ethernet, rather than kind of putting in, buying sort of full height or half height fiber channel drives and sort of, network, fiber channel networking switches and the like.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And, we focus primarily on how our Ethernet bridge helps tape libraries. There's a lot of reasons why someone might want to use fiber channel as opposed to Ethernet. But when you look at tape over Ethernet, there is really only two options at this point. There's our solution, which we've presented here, and then there's a proprietary tape library from IBM, which utilizes a different type of technology at a higher acquisition cost. So we definitely believe that our solution of utilizing XstreamCORE in conjunction with SAS LTO tape drives is really the best option for customers looking to access their data over an Ethernet network.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we haven't had any more questions in, but actually, I'd just like to raise one thing that, Global have been a long-term partner of ATTO for many, many years, and obviously, I'm familiar with you guys, and I know, that ATTO work with a lot of tier one vendors. But for those people that are maybe not so familiar with ATTO, or maybe not familiar with the bridge with the XstreamCORE range of products, could you just give us a snapshot of who those vendors are? Because I think it adds a lot of weight to to the product that it is being used in very enterprise environments.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned some of the names earlier, right? So we've got Dell and HPE. We also work extensively with NetApp. They're one of the biggest partners we have in terms of utilizing the XstreamCORE bridge, especially in the continent of Europe. We also work with a lot of software vendors. So, we're working with VMware, we're working with DataCore, We're also, working in a number of specialty manufacturers who focus on the media and entertainment industry, such as Avid. So we have a wide breadth of partners in the industry. You might not necessarily have heard ATTO's name when you're out there and looking at solutions, but I think that's partly because our products are part of larger solutions. So in many cases, you're dealing with a company like a NetApp, but ATTO is an integral part of what they've offered.
Brilliant, thanks.
Yeah.
So well, that sort of just about wraps it up. But just a reminder to everyone that, as I said, this is a series of webinars, and upcoming webinars. We've got the 2nd of September on more of a technical review of the XstreamCORE product line and a demo, and that's going to be with Matt McCurry. He's one of the senior customer engineers at ATTO, and what he doesn't know about the products, almost not worth knowing. So that if you want to get into the, as I said, the nuts and bolts, that might be an interesting one to catch. And then, as I said, lastly, on the 16th of September, a couple of weeks afterwards, we're really honing on in building that kind of software-defined piece, featuring ATTO, DataCore, and WDC with their JBOD Data 60s and Data 102. So, but that's really it from us for today. Just some contact information quickly before we leave us. You can obviously get Global at sales@globaldistribution.com, or do feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm Nick W, NICKW @globaldistribution.com, and you've got our contact numbers for the UK, US, DAC, France, and Spain here. And of course, ATTO, you can reach ATTO, sales@atto.com, and directly via the phone if you wish to. But just one quick second to say thanks very much to you, Ryan. It's been really informative. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick. It was a pleasure being here today.
Great. Thanks, guys. And thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.